Do. I need a new mic stand. I'm so tired of it. Like it just annoys me.
Oh, you have like the long arm that tilts over, right?
Yeah, I have the long arm of the law.
Yeah.
Yeah, it frustrates me. Anyway, welcome back. Another episode of Dynasty Theory. I had to change the overlay for our YouTube channel because we're never live every Thursday.
Very rarely we follow the schedule.
Man, just everybody getting sick, things changing. Anyway, Mitch, what's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. Just I have a little bit of a cough too. So that's what took me an extra second. Like, Chelsea had the COVID last weekend and then now tested. I don't have the COVID, but I don't feel all that great either.
No, we're just always sick. Yeah, the kids. When there's people, there are little terrors just coughing in your face all the time. That tends to happen.
A little bit.
It tends to happen. All right. So immediately following this week's episode, we are jumping over to the Patreon for a pivot point episode. And there was a topic that came up in the Discord probably last week, 2 weeks ago, that kind of tied in really nicely with the veteran players or the rookie pick series that we've been doing. And we'll spend a good amount of time discussing that. But the prompt really was, realistically, how much production and how long should that production last when you're projecting draft picks or a veteran? So like an example, if I'm moving my late 24 first, how much production should I really be getting? Yeah. And it's, do you do it during the offseason? Do you do it during the season? There's a lot to unwrap. And like I said, we'll be talking about that immediately following this show. We'll be jumping over on the Patreon feed. So if you're not part of that, I suggest come check it out. We do a free 7-day trial. We have the tiers, the patron channels in the Discord. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe for us. I think we're 2 away from 1,000.
We're so close. Like we aren't the ones that are like, hey, subscribe to our YouTube, but please just a couple people subscribe and we'll probably never say it again.
Until the next time. B4 over under on fluid ounces of hair gel on screen.
Quite a bit.
I don't know. That's a tough one. Anyway, so we've talked about the quarterbacks. We've talked about running backs, the veterans and the picks like we've been going through. Next week, we'll be talking about tight ends. Today, we are going to be discussing those veteran wide receivers. And it's an interesting market when you look at the veterans, of course. But there was a comment in the Discord earlier, just a couple minutes ago, that the market within leagues, and this will change, and I feel like it happens all the time during this point of the offseason, the market in leagues for late first-round picks is really non-existent right now. People are not actively going out saying, oh, man, I got to get that 111. I got to get that 112. And the comment was 107 or better or bust. And that's kind of where we are overall. You look everywhere. You look on Twitter, Reddit, different podcasts, different platforms. That line has been drawn. And I think a lot of people have their top 6. I think a lot of people have Rome Odunze as number 7. And then there is that tier break. And it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. Greg says same number of ounces as Taylor Swift sightings during the Super Bowl. Okay. The Discord, the Patreon, Pivot Point, that is in the Pivot Point channel in the Discord. I see that question in there. Let's see. Targeting every 108. Yeah, we'll see. All right. Sorry, I'm just going through some of the comments.
Good, good, man.
I want to show our appreciation for the folks that watch live every single week. All right. So, Mitch, we're going to work our way down. I'm going to kind of rearrange these as we go through to go highest value based on startups and fantasy calc values based on actual trades down to that 112-201 range. So first up, Tyreek Hill. And as we always do, let's assume 12-team Superflex, 2 PPR for tight ends. Just get that out there. Tyreek Hill or the 2024 103.
See, this is one to where like we really needed Dan on the show because I think you and I are going to agree on a lot of these. The problem is I was going to talk to you a little bit before we started naming players, but we love to say you build through wide receivers in Dynasty, right? That's what we
Mhm.
love to say. The problem is, tell me when during the season Devontae Adams was a sell high, or his market went up, or a Cooper Kupp, or Mike Evans, or Keenan Allen. Like, people just don't want these guys. So if you have them on your team, that's great. But very, very rarely will I see an offer of like, hey, here's my first round pick for your very aging wide receiver that I know isn't going to leave my team more than likely. And the great thing, we have Dynasty Daddy down the bottom, proud partner of, and we could pull up 50,000 leagues. And then, oh yeah, look, Tyreek Hill got traded for the 103 in this league. That's great. It's not happening in my leagues that I play in most of the time. Can it happen? Sure. So I think a lot of the issue is these price points are probably right what the people who have the veteran wide receivers want. But at the end of the day, I think I'm going to go with the picks on pretty much the vast majority of them.
And your opening point, it really comes into play here because we're in the off season and we're talking about these values. But even during the season, when guys like Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen were putting up difference, they were making a difference.
Yes, without a doubt.
Each and every single week. Amari Cooper had that run.
Mm-hmm.
People still weren't paying these prices.
Exactly.
So we talk about at this point in the offseason not wanting to invest in running backs, not especially veteran running backs. And I say we, the dynasty community as a group, but should that be any different for these veteran wide receivers? Is the value really going to be that much different? And I do agree with you to an extent. The values that we talk about here are probably going to be a little bit closer to what somebody would need to move them.
Right.
And we always talk about the difference in the price between buying and selling. We're going to see some of those discrepancies. So on last week's show with the running backs, we had a lot of folks in the chat jumping in saying, I'd want the player, I'd want the pick. So as we run through these, drop your opinions, please, because we saw last week when it was Dan and myself, Jake was in the Discord later, and he goes, I think Dan and I disagreed on every single one. He wanted the players in that late first range, and then he switched to picks in the middle of the second territory. And Jake was saying, well, I was flipped. But that's what really creates these trading opportunities. And we said that last week. So Tyreek Hill, the 103, you said 103.
Yes, very easily the 103 for me.
Do you think, is there an opportunity with a lot of these guys we're going to talk about? I mean, especially Tyreek Hill, just because of where he is valued.
Yeah.
If you look at somebody's team and they might be looking to enter a rebuild, or they're in the chat saying, hey, Tyreek Hill is on the block, like 108 plus 201.
Yeah, I would do that for him.
Do you think that's enough?
It should be enough, in my opinion. Because the problem is you're going to say the 103, right? So right now you're talking about whoever your quarterback 2 in the rookie drafts are, or Marvin Harrison Jr. or Neighbors. And Tyreek Hill is going to be going a full round below all of those guys in startup drafts, if not more. So in my opinion, the 103 is probably value-wise. You see how it can line up. But at the end of the day, the second you drop that rookie's name in there, you're like, well, of course I'm going to take the rookie.
So you would go Caleb, and this isn't a I'm trying to trap you.
Right.
For a context on that comment there, I'll throw questions over to Mitch in our DMs, and he's very hesitant to respond sometimes because I'll be like, oh, what do you think about this trade? And he's like, is this a trap? Is this something you're going to be sending me?
It's a fair question.
It is, because I've been known to do that to you once or twice. But the most recent time was in a co-managed league.
Yep.
I was like, no, there's no trap here. So by me saying so, I don't want you to kind of, throw your guard up, but Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Brock Bowers, 2 PPR, Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors. Do you take Rome Odunze over him?
I do. But I love Rome, because, I watch a lot of the Pac-12, so I've seen a lot of his games, so I'm a lot higher on him than other people are.
And then, I mean, right now I have that fairly large tier break
Yes,
between
agreed.
107 and 108. It's Brian Thomas, Troy Franklin. I think he's going to kind of fall into that middle of the second in the NFL draft. Hopefully I'm wrong and it spikes up a little bit because there's a lot of things about his game that I do like. JJ McCarthy, he's kind of going to be the wild card.
Yes, he's gonna move up. Like he was the guy. We don't really want to get into JJ, but he's gonna move up. We'll just go there.
And then I think there's going to be at least one running back that, based on landing spot and perceived opportunity, is going to spike up. But, I would take, from a value perspective, I have Tyreek with 105 to 107. But at this point of the year, especially with these players and the way values are going to continue to shift throughout the offseason, I would take that pick over a veteran like Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, if someone came out and offered me, they are a middling playoff team, right? I'm a middling playoff team. They have Tyreek Hill. I will move my 25 first for Tyreek Hill almost in a heartbeat if I think I could contend a little bit, right? But if you're talking about the 106, 107 in this draft, I'm like, probably not. I want to keep that pick.
Would you move a 2025 first and Deontay Johnson for Tyreek Hill?
Yeah.
And again, assuming it's not an absolute tank job, you're looking to contend, obviously. Yeah. You feel good about Tyreek as the offseason moves on. His value is really not going to change. Josh Downs in a 25 first.
Yeah.
Jaden Reed in a 25 first.
No. I think there's too many people like Reed. You could probably get a lot for him, to be honest.
Marquise Brown.
Yeah.
George Pickens.
Yep. Anyone from the Steelers, you could have them.
So you would move Pickens in a 25 first to acquire Tyreek Hill?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think he's going to make that big of a difference on your team next year.
Okay. And this is going to go with our conversation from the pivot point.
Yes. Yep.
How much do you need to be adding from a points perspective to want to make a move like that? And that's going to be a good conversation. All right. So these prices that I have on the sheet are based on, the current values going through Fantasy Calc, KTC, startup ADP. I think for the sake of the conversation, I'm going to have to bring these down a little bit.
A little bit. That's the hard part. Yep.
Devontae Adams or 111.
111. I have a lot of these wide receivers on my team. And let's bring up Deebo Samuel next, okay? I have Deebo Samuel on a lot of teams. Even when he was doing good last season, no one wanted him. He's done well in the playoffs. No one still wants him. I offered Deebo for Jerry Jeudy and Brian Robinson just to see what would happen. I didn't even get an answer back on the offer. And I'm like, I figure for a guy like Deebo, that'd be pretty close to at least a counterable offer. And I thought it was a little bit of an overpay, to be honest with you.
I would have straight up accepted it if I were that manager.
Didn't even get a reply.
That hurts.
A little bit. It does.
Time of the year, though. Maybe they're just away. What's the lingo?
They were in the chat, so they were around.
Listen, I'm trying to give this person an excuse.
Yeah.
All right. So you got Devontae Adams, 111. Devontae Adams or 112?
Adams. Yeah, I'll take Adams.
Okay, so you would have that little break between 111 and 112.
Yeah.
And I think it makes sense with where you see McCarthy, you see, like I said, a Troy Franklin, and then you see that running back getting up there. I mean, hell, I could, in 2 PPR, if he gets a very intriguing landing spot, I would not be surprised to see my guy Jatavian Sanders go at the end of the first round.
Oh, yeah. Say he ends up on the Bengals in the second round.
That is being mocked in a lot of places.
Yeah, exactly.
I talked about issues with my wardrobe. If Brock Bowers goes to the Chargers, if we get a double whammy of Brock Bowers to the Chargers and Jatavian Sanders to the Bengals, all bets are off. Mitch is like, I'm not staying in the same room with you in Canton, Ohio.
I'm good. I'll get my own.
All right, Stephon Diggs, is the price point similar to Adams?
I'm a little bit lower on Diggs just because I think he's probably going to force himself off the Bills at some point. He's just, for whatever reason, he does not seem happy. So for me, it would be 201, 202 for me to acquire Diggs.
Now, I think the move here, so wherever you have that, and I say you, everybody, wherever you have that tier break in the second round of these 12-team Superflex 2 PPR, like, I think there's an opportunity. Like, let's say you have, like, for me, I have 111 to 204 right now. You know, 5 picks, but fairly close together. 6 picks, fairly close together. If I could get 204 and 208 for somebody like Diggs, it sounds low, but this might be one of the last opportunities coming into this season.
Can you think of saying that last year with Diggs, you know, going into the 23 season? Oh yeah, I'll accept 2 seconds for Diggs. Like, that just won't happen. But this is what happens with these veteran wide receivers, right?
It would sound asinine at that time. And I think a lot of people are listening right now thinking that sounds asinine still, John.
It's true. Just try to go get something better. That's all I'm going to say.
But then from the other side, if you're in this situation, you have a lot of 24 seconds. Like, I have some teams, I got 4, 5, 6, 24 seconds. Just because especially if the startup was last year, I was able to move back. I was able to pick up some extra picks in future years. You know, maybe you are the one that wants to pair a couple of those, depending where you have the tier break. Now, would I want to do like a 207 and 212? No, because I want something in that first tier that I mentioned. Okay. Dan says, looking great on my Vision Pro, gents. We've had some funny conversations in the Discord about Dan and his Vision Pro. Wall-to-wall Dynasty content on the Apple Goon goggles. Cole, Diggs just went in the 9th of our startup. Don't think 2 seconds seems low at all. Okay. And then Lurs, I'll let Diggs die on my roster before taking the 204 and 28.
But that's what's going to happen. I mean, that's really it. And I'm okay with it. I mean, there's these wide receivers, I'm fine having them on my team, but I also know that there isn't going to be a sell window on them. There just isn't. Like, we've seen these guys do really well during the season, and no one's coming knocking at your door to pick them up.
Right now, and a lot of these guys are really close together. We talked about the Fantasy Calc Live positional values, the overall values. I got the ADP. I got the difference between the live FCalc value and ADP also. So you can see, okay, there are certain types of players that, like Mike Evans, for example, Fantasy Calc value 63rd overall, ADP over the last 30 days, 85th overall, dropping 22 spots. It makes sense that a veteran is going to be dropping, you know, and then maybe an injured player. Let's see, where was like Ramondre Stevenson? He was dinged up at the end of the year. He's up 15 spots, but that makes
because he's going to be back.
But that makes sense. So you can kind of see Austin Eckler. He's higher compared to what the price was in existing leagues. You know, so it's always interesting. I think the opportunity might be if there's a player that you believed in and they were injured, and now you look at ADP and there hasn't been a change in value compared to in-season value, or they've even dropped, we might be able to identify some market inefficiencies, or vice versa. If you have a veteran that now has increased in value once the offseason is ended, or once the offseason's kicked off, and we don't see a change in situation, you know. So I think there are a lot of certain players, like Najee Harris is up almost 2 rounds.
Just crazy.
And you know, is it the way he performed at the end of the season? Probably. Is it Arthur Smith coming into town? You know, it's going to be interesting. Just because we talked about Adams, B Ford, any concerns about Devontae Adams, quarterback? AOC enough to like him over Diggs? I don't. Did you see the? Yeah, I use quotes. The AOC report from that. It was a fantasy account.
Like it doesn't make any sense, to be honest. Like, it doesn't.
It would be like if you or I went out there and said, sources say
Yeah.
Nobody freaking believes I have a source.
And do you think the coaches already know right now that they're like, yeah, we're walking into the season with AOC? Like, none of the coaches know that. They don't even know what's going to happen in free agency yet. It's just crazy.
And also, if they were to stick with AOC, it would be very difficult to believe in Davante Adams.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
But Diggs had Josh Allen. He was the number one receiver in that offense.
Mm-hmm.
Where Josh Allen, I was 5th in passing yards, 6th in passing touchdowns, and there was 8, 9, 10 games. Diggs just did not produce.
Yes.
So a Davante Adams with AOC, I think, is the floor for him this season.
Is.
Now, if I'm looking, I have all these guys tiered together, so we're going to kind of jump around a little bit from the actual veteran versus the pick. Terry McLaurin or Chris Godwin?
Chris Godwin.
And again, I have these guys tiered together,
Yeah,
but
it's close.
I'm making you choose.
Yeah.
All right. So you went Godwin?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Godwin.
Godwin or Davante Adams?
Davante Adams.
Davante Adams or Cooper Kupp?
Davante Adams.
Chris Godwin or Cooper Kupp? He's hacking up a lung over there. Holy moly.
Tell you, man, like it ain't healthy. Was it Amari or Cooper Kupp? Is that what you said?
No. Chris Godwin or Cooper Kupp?
Oh, Godwin.
Terry McLaurin or Cooper Kupp?
Cooper Kupp.
All right. So out of those 4, you have Davante Adams,
Yeah.
Godwin, Cooper Kupp, McLaurin.
Yes.
Where do you slide Diggs?
Sorry, what was that? I was coughing again.
Holy God.
I know, dude. I'm dying here. I'm telling you.
The Dynasty Theory medical benefits are not great. We
Yes.
don't.
They're very low tier. I get my cold medicine out of the back alley.
That's all we can do right now.
I
Okay.
know.
Stephon Diggs, where do you slide him in there? Adams, Godwin, Kupp, McLaurin. Where's Diggs?
Right next to McLaurin.
Okay. Well, Diggs or Christian Kirk?
Kirk.
Okay, so I think there are going to be opportunities here. Like you get into that Kirk area, Godwin, McLaurin. I think there's going to be spots you could get a plus with any of those options. And I want you to tell me why Diggs is a better option than any of them.
Okay.
No, not like you specifically.
Oh, okay.
I'm
like, I can.
A rhetorical why, or why is he a better option? And you're going to find people that maybe it's Lurs that was in the chat, if he's still here. Maybe he's going to be a potential trade partner there.
Yep.
So Mike Evans right now, fantasy calc value 1 spot below Stephon Diggs. ADP, about a 3.5 round difference. Why?
That just doesn't make sense.
Why?
Yeah. ADP hasn't caught up, probably, I would guess.
Yeah. I mean, and again, what are the leagues that Fantasy Calc is incorporating?
Mm-hmm.
Mocks.
Yes.
Really, so always take this with a grain of salt. Some of the
stuff like this,
points.
Stacking matters. Like, even though you're not huge on the whole stacking thing, there's a lot of people that aren't, right? But there are people that are. So if you have a quarterback like Josh Allen, you get him in the first, more than likely you're going to want to draft your Diggs a little bit higher because you're going to want the stack in Buffalo more so than if Baker Mayfield is your starting quarterback. I mean, you're probably picking him up in the 12th round. And then that's what you're worried about. I mean, he's higher than that. But that's when you're going to be stacking him with Mike Evans. So, but that stuff does matter when it comes to ADP.
I don't care about that.
I know. And some people don't, but some people really do. And I do think that affects ADP values.
Yeah. Well, it's just something to pay attention to. Yep. So Mike Evans or 110?
That one's like just right there for me. Like if I knew Baker was coming back and everything was good there, I would go Mike Evans. But now,
Mike Evans needs to re-sign too.
That's a great point. Yeah. So as of right now, I'm taking the 110, but that's one that I could very easily flip depending on how the whole free agency stuff goes.
Keenan Allen or Calvin Ridley?
Oh, Keenan Allen. I don't want Calvin Ridley on any team.
Calvin Ridley or
Dust.
205,
205.
207,
207.
209.
Maybe Calvin Ridley. And like, I want Calvin Ridley to sign with the Lions this year, right? So this isn't me hating on Calvin Ridley. I think he's fine for the NFL. I just don't want him fantasy wise. So 208, I'll probably take that. Yeah.
All right. Do I 209? Sold.
You can do that.
All right. I think Amari Cooper is another one.
Yep.
I think
I would trade the 112 for Amari Cooper. I would do that.
Okay. I'm looking. I got to move Amari Cooper up. I don't if you're asking me Amari Cooper or Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
Should there be a gap? And I don't think the answer to that question
Amari
is yes.
should be quite a bit higher than Cooper, to be honest.
Yeah. Oversight on my part. I apologize to the folks at home and anybody this may have affected. Let's just change some colors here in the old sheets. All right. Any other veterans?
No, I think we covered a lot of them before we get into these. I like this next question. I like the whole, which one do you like that are actually good wide receivers? That's a good one to talk about.
I like the trio, who's going to be highest, who's going to be lowest, especially whenever we have the three of us on and Dan's not sitting there with his goggles. $50 million goggles on.
Yeah. You figure he'd be able to join the show if he has the goggles on. That should have some like cross compatibility there, but maybe not.
He should just be able to join anywhere.
It's true.
I don't know. He better not bring those to Canton.
Oh, he's bringing them to Canton. 100% anyway, he is. He's going to warm to dinner.
All right. The only steakhouse in Canton that is open until 4 p.m.
That's right.
Eastern time. That was a good steak, though.
It was good. It was great. Yeah.
I scooted there. All right. In each group. So if you've missed the quarterback episodes, the running back episodes, go back and watch them. But what we've been doing to close out these shows is in each group, I'm going to give Mitch 3 wide receivers that are similarly valued today. And some of them, like, when I did running backs with Dan, he was like, boom, boom, boom. Mm-hmm. When I did quarterbacks, you were this isn't close. Dan was like, this isn't close. So It is interesting to see the different thoughts here. So again, if you're in the chat, I want to know your thoughts here. CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamar Chase. Who has the highest value 1 year from today? And then who has the lowest?
Look, I'm like everybody else. Everybody loves these players, right? I'm still going Jamar Chase because if Burrow comes back healthy, Jamar Chase is just going to have a bonkers year. I mean, they all are, but Jamar Chase just has that kind of ceiling to where I think he's going to end up being a little bit higher. But I mean, they could be wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 in Dynasty.
And then who's lowest?
Probably Amon-Ra. Just because Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb, he will always be ranked just a little bit higher. And Amon-Ra is the 4th round pick, and everyone, will always hold that against him.
Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be in the league it's going to be like 2 years from now.
Yeah.
He's going to be one of the highest paid players in the league.
Yes.
He's going to be breaking records, whatever. Yeah, but he was a 4th round pick.
Exactly. Yeah, he's going to be an all-pro for the next 4 years, but he's probably wide receiver 8 in Dynasty, just because that draft capital just knocks him down a little bit.
Let's see, right now, Amon-Ra St. Brown. So this is across the board. Positional fantasy calc 4, overall 10, ADP 13 overall.
Mm-hmm.
Lamb, respectively 2, 6, and 8 against the 4, 10, and 13. And Chase 3, 8, and 9. So it looks like it's going right now in all 3 of those areas. Lamb, Chase, St. Brown.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can't argue. Honestly, if someone wants to put St. Brown above, I won't argue. It's just the value just really isn't there.
Okay. And this one's interesting too because you have the big discrepancy with the one of these 3 players being a lower NFL draft pick. So we're looking at Puka, Garrett Wilson, AJ Brown. Who has the highest value a year from today, Mitch?
It should be Puka, but it won't be. It'll be Garrett Wilson. Like, I think AJ Brown, his age is going to start to play a factor. But if Garrett Wilson can get a healthy Aaron Rodgers for, 14 or 15 games next season, everyone's just going to buy into that because Garrett Wilson's very good. But I think Puka's going to have the best year of all of them next year.
And the lowest?
AJ Brown.
And is that primarily, well, he's going to be 27.
I know, but that's the thing. Is it that or the 22, 23-year-olds?
Yeah. Holler from the Fantasy Effect team. Always appreciate those guys. He has Garrett Wilson as the top, AJ Brown as last, and Puka bringing up the middle.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle. What the fuck is Dan talking about?
I have no idea.
Oh my God. If you have not watched an episode of Dynasty Theory live on the old YouTubes, and you listen on the podcast feed, I just ask that one time you do.
Just once.
The chat is fantastic. It is why, like, when we first started doing the show, we would just record.
Mm-hmm.
It really is so much more enjoyable for us to have these crazies in the chat. It really is. All right, Chris Olave, Zay Flowers, DJ Moore.
Olave by a lot, then DJ Moore, then Zay Flowers.
I agree with that.
Yep.
Not to say I disagree with the first two trios.
Right.
That one,
you're good.
I agree with that. I just don't want to yell at me. All right, Nico Collins, Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins.
Nico Collins, definitely the highest. Right now, I'll say Waddle in the middle, then T. Higgins, but T. Higgins is that free agent. If he goes back to the Bengals, maybe they could light it up for another season. But as of right now, I think I just have to have Waddle higher because I know where he is going to be next year. They're both made of glass, though.
I was just gonna say, like, I like Waddle, but I love T. Higgins, and he's just, there's nothing worse than putting a player in your lineup and the first series they go up for a deep ball and crack their head off the turf or whatever. Like,
that is the worst, without a doubt.
Like, again, how dare I selfishly sit here as I sit on my couch and these guys are sacrificing their health as I sit here and complain. Get back out there. Brandon Ayuk, Tank Dell, Devontae Smith.
I'm going to go just how you have them listed. Ayuk first, Tank Dell second, Devontae Smith first. Like, I love Tank Dell. I think Tank Dell is the best wide receiver on the Texans, but he also has to prove he could stay healthy for a full year. And, guys with his body type can be great for 6 or 7 games, but they need to hold up for 17 in order for us to really draft them high. So, in my opinion, it's Ayuk because he's amazing. Tank Dell, then Devontae Smith.
I'm putting you on the spot here.
Okay.
One wide receiver that you need to go out and acquire. Can be a veteran, can be a young stud. It doesn't matter. At their price point, who do you personally, Mitch Sorensen, be proactive, get out there. Who do you need to acquire?
I'm going to stall for a second. I want to say I wasn't on the show for the running backs, but Brian Robinson is the one to go and get. He's super cheap right now. And he is going to produce next year, and you could get him for really low. So I'm going to say him. Then 4 wide receivers. I'm not going to go very high because I don't think that's very fun. I will go with, just scrolling through your tiers real quick, looking. I'm going to go with Quentin Johnston. No, I'm dead serious. I am dead serious.
Oh, no.
No, look, their GM already came out and said pretty much, I mean, this isn't exactly what he said, but I'll just put my own spin on it. Like, their salary cap's hell. They're in a terrible position, and they're going to have to cut players. I think Keenan Allen's going to be back, but I do not believe Mike Williams is going to be back. I don't believe Austin Eckler is going to be back. Quentin Johnston wasn't good last year, but we knew going into the draft he was a raw prospect. We all had him lower in our tiers because we knew he wasn't going to be doing the same thing that JSN was. We knew this. I really believe with Justin Herbert, they are going to... Man, it's rough, right? But no, like, really, his value is too low right now. Like, we have discussions in the Discord about, hey, go buy Dotson. Dotson's a great buy right now.
I
I'm
disagree
like,
with
yeah,
that.
but we hate Quentin Johnston. And then we'll have people be like, no, Bryce Young could come back. He's doing really good. Bryce Young was far worse this past year than Quentin Johnston was. But, well, we liked Bryce Young before the draft, and we didn't like Quentin Johnston before the draft. So that's how it goes. No, Quentin Johnston is my guy.
For me,
Better be a low guy. Better be a low guy.
Hollywood.
Oh, you liked him last year, though.
And
You're
I
just
like him again
continuing
this year.
so you can run back your takes.
No. This is me doubling down. All right.
Hold on real quick, Ben, real quick. This is what happens when we have Dan. Dan says, go buy JSN or Drake London. Yes. Please go and buy Drake London. Like, yes, he is also on my buy list for me.
I heard this Justin Jefferson guy's
He's pretty decent.
good.
You can get him for pretty cheap off someone's team.
Pretty good. I'm going to say Hollywood.
Yeah, no, I like Hollywood. Hollywood's good.
And
because he's a free agent. It's just those,
and he was playing with the injury.
Yeah.
He ended up missing the end of the season there. And Chris Godwin again. Now I'm leaving Deontay Johnson off my list this offseason.
Because I was going to mention him too, but yeah.
But Chris Godwin, I mean, really being overshadowed by a tremendous Mike Evans season. You look at the way he closed out here, still not spectacular by any means, but 8 points, 15 points, 11, 17, 15, 26, so still a player like quietly over 1,000 yards, just 2 touchdowns though. Regression.
Hey, real quick, let me say one player who is a little bit higher up that people won't throw up on, but it's Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice throughout the offseason. I'm not going to be shocked if he ends up doing the Pittman from 2 years ago to where in August he's wide receiver 12 in Dynasty. That is not going to surprise me at all. And I actually expect it, to be honest with you.
Like, I would talk about ADP. Jalen Waddle, he's, let's see, fantasy calc value 10th, wide receiver 10, 29th overall, 31st overall in ADP. Rashee Rice, wide receiver 23, 55th overall, 54th overall in ADP. Why is there a 2-round gap?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
And this is not a situation where I'm doubling down on a take. Like, I was not in on Rashee Rice coming into the NFL draft, even post NFL draft.
No, I thought Sky Moore was going to be the guy. That's what I thought. I was wrong, but I'm okay to go get Rice now.
Yeah. So I think Rice is a good one, and I had my eye on him there.
Final thoughts.
All right, Mitch. Episode 233 in the books. Another fun one. Next week, we're going to be talking about tight ends. Be ready, Dan. Be ready. He's going to say, go buy that undervalued Sam Laporta.
If you can get him for cheap, that would be good.
Yeah, so Mitch, what do you got?
I'm going to bring up, so we have quite a few teams that we run through Dynasty Theory, through the Discord and everything. We have one that is a 24-team league that has quite a few orphans in it because it's a My Fantasy league. It's just one of those to where people don't like MFL anymore. And I mean, I don't want to go on a tangent, but can you name a company that was ran worse in fantasy over the last 5 years than MFL? I mean, they had everything, and now no one wants to play on it.
They blew a 28-3 lead.
Yeah, that they did. Not 24-7, but 28-3. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, we have openings. If you want to fill some orphans, please join the Discord and we'll get you in the leagues.
All right. Like I said, we're going right over to the Patreon feed, and that link is in the Discord chat. If you're if you're over there. For Mitch Sorensen, Dan Lamagna, I'm John Bauer. Hopefully you all enjoyed this episode. Have a great weekend. We'll catch you next week. Peace.